Hi, Charlene Murdoch with the Campbell County Chamber of Commerce, and we are here today with Jeff Raney. And Jeff is running for the school board, and we are going to learn a little bit more about his positions on the issues that are pending in our community, the things people want to know before they go to the polls. So, Jeff, welcome.
Thank you, Charlene.
So glad to have you here today, and I say this to the candidates, thank you for running, because it is a job and it takes a lot of work, and I always appreciate the research people do and their passion for what they're doing when they run for office. So we'll get started. And our first question, they won't come as a surprise to you. They are out there being debated. So as we look at quality of education for our students, there's a lot of discussion about one high school or two. We've gone down this path towards two high schools, and some people want to put the brakes on that. So where are you as far as one high school or two high schools? Which do you think is better for our students? And can you share with us why you feel that way?
I'm a two high school person. Should have been done a decade ago, and that's kind of why I'm running for the school board. I see a complete lack of proactive thinking on the school board. The second high school should have been done a decade ago. Now we're losing students and we're finally getting around to second high school. There's no taking it back though. We've committed to the second high school. So now I see the priority is making sure that we have the money in the budget to maintain two high schools and all the programs that would entail. The doubling of a lot of the extracurricular activities, the doubling of routes and doubling of employees. It's going to be very important that we're ahead of the pending budget crisis and that we're proactive. We need to make our cuts now and not wait until it's a necessity, but do it now before it's forced upon us. And then it's a matter of panic instead of reason. Okay, so kind of a measured approach. Exactly.
Okay. Well, and the other probably hot button issue that we are hearing about is, do you feel schools can deliver better education with the 7-day period versus the block system? Give us the pros and cons of what you think those are about and where you stand on that.
I've talked with a couple dozen students and a pretty good handful of teachers. Nobody's happy with this 7-period system. The students dislike it intensely. It lacks flexibility. It's not responsive to the needs of the students or the teachers. If you're in vocational training, it actually limits you to 10 minutes of hands-on time with what you're, like if you're in automotive, actually limits the students to 10 minutes of hands-on time actually repairing an engine. The school's goal, or what should be their goal, is to have these children ready and educated to go out into the workforce upon graduation, if that's what their desire is. If it's to go to college, same thing there. I do see we need to emphasize STEM a bit more: science, technology, engineering, mechanics, mathematics. I see a hybrid or a marriage of the 7-period and the block as being the solution. And I actually have immense faith and trust in the teachers and educators in the school district. They can come up with a workable solution. We just have to keep the administration out of the way, because they always come up with these top-down ideas and they never think to just ask the teachers. A simple questionnaire to the teachers would have resolved many of the problems they have right now. But sometimes when you have a little bit of authority or power, your ego gets in the way of the simple solution. I intend to be that person who's the proponent of the simple solution, not just a rubber stamp for the school administration.
All right, well, thank you. Well, let's move to some of those financial constraints that we are seeing within our state. as those hit, do you feel full funding for K through 12 education should remain intact? And if so, what other state services or budgets should be reduced to accommodate no loss to K through 12?
Because of the silliness that the Senate perpetrated this last budget session, only cutting the state education budget by 1%, they pretty much ensured that there's going to be a 10 to 20% cut to the state education budget in the next budget, because they cut Fish and Wildlife by 30%. Ranchers can't draw bull tags. It's all going out of state. There's legislators all across the state who are angry about this situation. I've talked with about a dozen of them in the last few weeks. We're going to see massive cuts to the state education budget. We have to be proactive and get ahead of it. I couldn't tell you what to cut in the state. I couldn't tell you, well, I'll tell you, top of my head, the Herschel building. We don't need a palace for the Senate and legislators. That would just be something I would say should be cut. But all I can tell you is that as a school board member, my job would be to be ready for the cuts that are coming, to be proactive and not wait to react.
All right, well, thank you, Jeff. If schools are at the top of the priority list for improvements, do you feel the state of Wyoming should be compelled to provide funding despite the lack of revenue from COVID bonuses?
Because of the amount of money that Campbell County has paid into the state budget over the last decade through the school recapture system, I would say that if the state is not willing to come to our aid in a time of need, that school capture needs to be revisited, and whoever proposed it in the first place should have been hung.
Well, we can probably figure that out.
I'm pretty sure we can.
So our last question for you, Jeff, is really an opportunity for you to tell us more about you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, why you're a good candidate to run for the school board, and how you would differentiate yourself from other candidates in this race.
I'm a businessman. I have been in business even when I was a platoon sergeant in the Army. That's when I started my first business. When I got married, I got out of active duty, and I had a gun shop up and running already. Became the second or third largest historical weapons shop in the United States. Now I have an internet business, and I took a $30,000 a year internet business and turned it into a $500,000 a year business. I understand budgets. I understand opportunity, and I understand being proactive. I have a different philosophy about taxpayer dollars than many people in the school administration do. I do not believe that anyone or anything should be taxed without a specific purpose, and it should have merit, not just a willy-nilly deal. My kids have been in Campbell County schools, K through 12. I volunteer taught for 6 years at Conestoga Elementary. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Best teachers, greatest students you'll ever run into. I see school board's job as it's an analogy I've been using, the three-legged stool. You have the one leg's the students, one leg's the educators, and the other leg's the taxpayers. Any one of those legs is broken or missing, you get a pile of firewood. And somebody pointed out to me that there's a seat up on top of all those. And I just tell them, well, that's the administration. That's where all your posteriors go. The school board's job is to protect the other three legs from the administration and their top-down approach to everything. The school board should be in there saying, that's a good idea. Let's test it out and see if it works before we implement it, like the 7-day period. Finding all sorts of flaws and problems that could have been resolved with a simple questionnaire to the teachers. That's what I hope to bring to the school board.
All right, well, thank you, Jeff, for being with us today, and thank you for running. And I'll remind voters to please go to the polls November the 8th. Thank you very much.